So, comrades, when I go to court, I know why you have fears. I say this all the time. When I go to court in East London, they find me guilty, which they did, then sentence me to a jail term. I even said before the jail term that I'm going to appeal this matter. So your immediate fears must be cleared that once I appeal, it suspends the jail sentence that they've imposed on me. Now, if they impose a sentence that is more than 12 months without an option of a fine, I will not qualify to be a member of parliament. But once I appeal that, it suspends that thing. I continue with my duties as a member of parliament, as a member of ethics, as a member of the JSC, because that's where they want to remove me. But even if they succeed in removing me from parliament, I've got a home here called Winnie Madikizela Mandela House. That's where the People's Parliament is. And that's where I will go and serve in the People's Parliament in Winnie Madikizela Mandela House. Because I was never born to be a member of Parliament. I joined the struggle to liberate the people of South Africa, not to be a member of Parliament. They can take their Parliament. I'll remain in the struggle. The same way they took their ANC membership, I remained in the struggle, because when they took the ANC membership, their intention was to remove me from the struggle. So I'm part of the revolution. No one will remove me from the revolution. And parliament is not a revolution. A revolutionary house is Winnie Madikizela Mandela House. So, comrades.
What happens when a man stands alone against courts, against empires, against global pressure, and still refuses to kneel? What happens when power tries to silence a voice, but that voice becomes even louder? Today, we are talking about Julius Malema, a man loved by millions, feared by the powerful, hated by those who benefit from injustice. Standing before the East London Magistrate, Malema did not beg. He did not retreat. He did not soften his message. Instead, he said something that shook the system. Even if they remove me from Parliament, they will never remove me from the revolution. Those words are not just a statement. They are a warning. They are a promise. They are a declaration of war against injustice. And today, we ask the big questions. What are the possible outcomes of this court case?
Don't want to work the land. We are working the land. The shelves are owned by people who are hostile to black people. Let there be a campaign that every shop, for it to thrive, the manager must be in a position to give an account of how many black people's products do you have. And after they tell you this is, you must ask them, where are they producing this thing? I want to visit that factory so that we can see if other people are fronting for whites or not. We must be deliberate about black empowerment. We must be deliberate about reducing unemployment. We must be deliberate about fighting poverty. How do we do that? We need to fight for space for young people everywhere where a space can be found. The space is there. Let's use our power. We used it with the cliques. Cliques thought it was more powerful than the power of the people. No one can defeat the power of the masses. So the masses are awaiting there. They are waiting for the leadership. Let's go and not wait for this government. Let's go. Let's go and make sure that we fight for our people to get a space in the shelves, in the minds. It must not be that my soul, we don't even know how he accumulated my soul. Whether it's Zamazama or it's illegal mining, we don't know. My soul self, food. Is even paraded in the stages of criminals. Why should we have one? We must have multiple of them. Not through Zamazama, through legal means. There must never be a business activity anywhere in South Africa without the local leadership of the EFF taking that business head on. How many of our locals are in here? There's no way there's something we can't do there. Cleaning, collecting rubble, this or that. If it's so sophisticated, whatever. Let the people be empowered. Let there be fight on the ground for people fighting to be empowered. We cannot be scared of less than 1,000 men who are owning the economy of South Africa if we include small businesses of white people. Out of 65 million, we all are standing helpless. We need to fight for empowerment of our people. There's nothing wrong to go in and say, just tell us, how many of the locals have you empowered in this? How many blacks have you empowered in this? Where's your procurement officer CEO? Bring them here. Let's discuss this. Why? It's bread and butter. The issue of unemployment, we can no longer downplay it. In violation of constitutional obligations. Internationally, there is a need to reflect deeply on the erosion of human rights, radicalized immigration enforcement, and the dangers posed to millions of people who will seek to attend the FIFA World Cup scheduled for 2026, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Our movement has consistently denounced the United States government's suspension of immigrant visa processing for at least 75 countries, including several whose teams have qualified for the World Cup, such as Brazil, Colombia, Algeria, Cape Verde, Egypt, Ghana, Haiti, Iran, Cote d'Ivoire, Jordan, Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, Guatemala, and many other countries. This cruel policy creates a situation where fans, players, coaching staff from these nations, and indeed any ordinary supporter without privileged status face the real risk of visa denial, detention by ICE, deportation, or unsafe conditions simply for wanting to attend a global sporting event. Amnesty and human rights organizations have already raised alarm about the abuses by U.S. immigration authorities that jeopardizes the safety of foreign visitors. In this context, the EFF once again makes a call for a global boycott of the FIFA World Cup in the United States. A sporting boycott is not merely symbolic, but it is rooted in a proud history of struggle. Our own democracy and the liberation of the African continent were profoundly shaped by the sporting and cultural boycotts that rejected apartheid, colonialism, and injustice wherever they prevailed. We are therefore morally compelled to extend this tradition of solidarity to all victims of U.S. aggression and exclusion. The USA's current foreign policy, from threats and military interventions in Venezuela, economic pressure through the blockade on Cuba, geopolitical posturing in Greenland, to destabilize efforts in Colombia and Mexico, reflects a predatory exercise of power driven by violence and exploitation. We condemn the blockade against Cuba, the arrest of democratically elected President Maduro, and all measures that punish nations for asserting their sovereignty. We must not neglect to mention the tragic events unfolding in East Africa, where the 2026 Ugandan general election was marred by a nationwide internet blackout, repression of civil society, violence against opposition supporters, and the suppression of independent media and communication. Just days before the vote, the Uganda Communications Commission ordered the shutdown of internet and mobile service in a brazen attempt to blind citizens to the democratic processes and undermine transparency at the crucial moment when information is needed. Reports from international human rights organizations confirm that these steps violated fundamental rights to access information and free expression, creating information vacuum that shields abuses, delays results, and erode public confidence in the integrity of the elections. It is additionally concerning as this has become a trend in the region, having similarly occurred in the Tanzanian presidential election just late last year. We condemn the violence and intimidation directed against opposition figures, political activists, and voters, and the unaccountable use of security forces to silence dissent. The EFF stands in firm solidarity with the people of Uganda and calls on regional and international bodies to recognize these elections as illegitimate and unacceptable at democratic norms. We call on all ground forces to heed the call that this year we either survive and liberate our people, or we die and prolong their misery, unemployment, landlessness, and poverty. Let us heed the call to the ground and mobilize our people towards building people-centered municipalities with reliable water, electricity, and services. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President. We will now take a...
It is not just about procedure. It is political. The possible options are simple on paper, but dangerous in reality. They could fine him. They could restrict him. They could remove him from parliament. They could try to politically bury him. But Malema's message was even simpler. You can remove my seat, but you cannot remove my ideas. History teaches us something important. Revolutions do not die in courtrooms. They do not die in prisons. They do not die with one man. Nelson Mandela went to prison. The struggle continued. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown. Pan-Africanism survived. Thomas Sankara was assassinated. His ideas became immortal. Power always makes the same mistake. It thinks removing the person will kill the movement. Malema is telling them clearly, you are not fighting Julius Malema. You are fighting millions who are tired of landlessness, poverty, and humiliation. When Malema says they can't remove him from the revolution, he is not being poetic. He is being strategic. He understands something many politicians forget. Power does not live in parliament. Power lives in the people. Parliament is a building. The revolution is a mindset. You can close a building, you cannot close a mindset. You can suspend a politician. You cannot suspend hunger. You cannot suspend inequality. You cannot suspend historical injustice. Malema is telling his supporters, if they remove me from parliament, I will meet you in the streets. If they silence me on TV, I will speak through you. If they ban me from institutions, I'll become an idea. And ideas are dangerous because you cannot arrest an idea. You cannot jail an idea. You cannot assassinate an idea. This is why power is nervous. This is why courts become political. This is why the pressure keeps increasing. Now let's talk about something bigger. Malema is not only confronting South Africa's system, he is also confronting Western power, including Trump and the United States. Why? Because Malema's politics touch the most sensitive nerve of global power. Land, resources, ownership control, and African sovereignty. When Malema says Africans must own the land, when he says Africans must control their wealth, when he says colonial economic structures must fall. He is not just challenging local elites. He is challenging global interests. The West does not fear Malema because of his words. They fear him because of what his ideas can inspire. A generation that refuses to beg, a continent that refuses to be managed, a people that refuse to remain cheap labor on their own land. Trump represents a world that wants Africa quiet, divided, and dependent. Malema represents a generation that wants Africa loud, united, and sovereign. That is not just politics. That is a civilizational conflict. Malema also touched a sensitive issue: the World Cup. Why bring sports into politics? Because sports is not just entertainment. It is power, image, and global influence. The world loves African talent. The world loves African energy. The world loves African culture. But does the world respect African voices? When African leaders or African revolutionaries are targeted, sanctioned, or silenced, where is Africa's collective protection? When Malema is in trouble, the question is not, is Malema perfect? The real question is, does Africa protect those who challenge injustice? Because today it is Malema, tomorrow it could be someone else, and one day it could be any African voice that refuses to kneel. If Africa cannot protect its own political voices, if Africa cannot stand together when one is targeted, then we are not a continent. We are just separate markets. Malema is forcing Africa to look in the mirror and ask, are we united only in football, or also in freedom? Let's be clear. This story is not really about Julius Malema. It is about who controls African politics, who sets the limits of African speech, who decides what is acceptable African leadership, and who gets punished for going too far. Every generation produces a troublemaker for injustice. Yesterday, it was Nkrumah. Yesterday, it was Sankara. Yesterday, it was Gaddafi. Today, in South Africa, it is Malema. Not because he is perfect, but because he refuses to be quiet. Power loves polite opposition. Power loves safe critics. Power loves controlled resistance. But Malema is not controlled, and that is why he is dangerous to the system. They can take positions, they can take titles, they can take platforms. Because revolutions don't live in buildings, they live in hearts. And once a heart wakes up, no court can put it back to sleep. If you believe Africa must protect its voices, share this video. If you believe Africa must control its future, like this video. If you believe the revolution is bigger than any one man, subscribe. Because the struggle did not start with Malema, and it will not end with him.
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa, oh, yeah. You make Africa great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.